Good morning, everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma, and this is our daily editorial analysis. I hope all of you are doing really good today. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear and see me clearly? Very good morning. Am I clearly visible and audible to everyone? Good morning. I'm absolutely good. Thank you, everyone. I'm really good. Audible and visible. Cool. So you know what article I have taken today, right? I told you that yesterday while we were doing the roundup that I am going to take that article. So I've taken only one article. The article is from the Hindu. It's a long article, has a lot of interpretations, has a lot of data. We're going to study that one article in detail. So we will take one article from the Hindu. We'll take out the vocabulary, simple language, simple words. But there's so much of detail added to the article that makes it difficult. So we'll do the vocabulary in the end. You'll tell me the tone. Tone also is a tricky one. So I'll see if you are able to identify the tone of the author. In the end, you can write down the summary under my video in the comment section. And we'll look at today's Hindu Indian Express and I will see what are the important articles. Yes, Violet, that's what I'm going to take. That's what I'm going to take, yes. Okay, so good morning, Pragyansha and Ragini. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible in the app too. Okay, so that's what our agenda for today's session is going to be. Ready for the vocabulary, everyone? Shall we start? Ready? So here we go. The first slide for vocabulary. Deviance amplification is the article that we're going to take. So let's understand what are these two terms from a normal language perspective, and then we will see their implication from the article's perspective. So deviance is basically, this is a straight way, but you probably move to the other direction, not following the usual course. Okay, you get deviated is what it means. Now, how can that be applied to a society? When you don't follow the usual society norms, the laws, society, culture, and the laws the country has made for you, you get deviated from that, is the deviance according to the context of the passage. So, a study of crime and deviance. Deviance is you are expected not to indulge into drugs. But if an adolescent gets into it, is he deviated in his ideology? Very likely, yes. Can we say he indulges into a criminal act? Not literally a criminal one, but he indulges into an illegal act. So that is an example of deviance here. Okay? Yes, you can call it irregularities, aberrance, anomaly, yes. Digress, yes. Exactly, Violet, you're right. Not following the social norm is deviance. But देखो यहाँ दो चीजें क्लियर रखना. एक होता है नॉर्मल सोशल नॉर्म नहीं फॉलो करना. सोशल नॉर्म आपसे एक्सपेक्ट करता है आप ऐसे क्लोथ्स पहनो, ऐसे बिहेव करो, मेन शुडंट वेयर वुमेन्स क्लोथ्स एंड वाइस वर्सा. यहाँ इससे डेविएट होना इज नॉट द आइडिया ऑफ द पैसेज. Deviation from what is legal and what is illegal is what we are referring to in the passage. Okay, normal deviance from what the society expects from you. Society expects thousands of things from you. If you deviate from that, that will not be considered as deviance here. Okay, so anomalous, aberrant, deviate from path, all of these. Unsophisticated नहीं होगा. हाँ ठीक है, related word हो सकता है. Agreed, it can be a related word. Okay. Oh yes, happy Ugadi. Yes everyone. ठीक है काजल, मैं कोशिश करती हूँ क्योंकि बहुत सारे बच्चे मेरी क्लास में जो हिंदी बिल्कुल नहीं समझते हैं, तो मुझे दोनों तरीके से मैं कोशिश करूंगी समझाने की. ओके, रिबेल आप बोल सकते हो, ठीक है. Oh, I'll have to watch it, Shrestha. Thank you for the recommendation. I'll have to watch it. Okay. Next word, amplification. एम्पलीफायर का काम क्या होता है म्यूजिक में एम्पलीफायर व्हाट डज एन एम्पलीफायर डू व्हेन यू हैव a speaker and there's an amplifier what is the rebel बोल सकते हो yes Prachi so what does an amplifier do what is the job of the amplifier this amplifier word there's a constant song ringing in my head after this is the first slide Ahana this is the second word what does an amplifier do ameliorate augmentation increasing voices add up to it that's exactly what amplification is making something bigger enlarging it increasing the impact of it is amplification okay to raise yes to its maximum capacity yes expanding yes increase yes increasing the intensity yes all of that is amplification yes Muskan that's what it does so the words no real prospect of succeeding do not need any amplification in itself these are very strong words they are impactful ones they don't need any amplification to make it more impactful or stronger so increasing the degree of something can be amplification so we in today's article are going to talk about how deviance can be amplified okay and what are the reasons for its amplification we're going to discuss that in the article today next word is inscribed inscribed is entrenched a literal synonym has to be entrenched it has been marked deeply is swell ho sakta hai अभिनव ब्रेकिंग न्यूज ये तो ऑलरेडी हो चुका है एक मिनट देखो बच्चे no April Fool here please there are thousands of kids waiting to learn no April Fool here please okay 1st April इसलिए बोल रहे हो जो डेट आ चुकी है उतनी ही है it would okay H inbred hardwire carve inscribe embed all of these are synonyms okay all of these are synonyms correct that's for inscribing next downplay making something look less important is downplay so the report downplays the seriousness of global warming it makes global warming look less important is downplay okay ठीक है वीडियो टीम मेरी रेडी बैठी है बच्चे तुम और मजाक करोगे वो 1 मिनट में ब्लॉक कर देगी बच्चे तुम्हें नो अननेसेसरी टॉक्स डाउनग्रेड lessen the importance that's for downplay yes that's for downplay okay trivialize degrade unimportant very good inscribed अलिफिया हिंदी में समझाती हूँ so inscribe का मतलब होता है जैसे आप स्टोन में कुछ इंस्क्रिप्शंस लिखते हो तो क्या होता है वो इंस्क्रिप्शंस परमानेंटली वहां फिक्स हो जाते हैं तो इंस्क्राइबिंग अगर हम कंटेक्चुअली देखते हैं ना इंस्क्राइबिंग का मतलब है डीपली फिक्स हो जाना या माइंड में या किसी भी चीज में डीपली अपनी जगह बना लेना इज इंस्क्राइब्ड ठीक है और अंडरप्ले एंड अंडरस्टेट अर्शिया वेरी गुड सिनोनिम्स टू डाउनप्ले नेक्स्ट वर्ड पैरानोया बिहेविंग इन अ मैनर जहां आप किसी चीज को ट्रस्ट नहीं करते हो आप सब पे डाउट करते हो इज अ स्टेट ऑफ पैरानोया सो माय पैरानोया अफ्लिक्ट्स ऑल प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स ओके किसी को ट्रस्ट नहीं करना डाउटिंग एवरीवन suspicion on everybody is paranoia delusion yes that's a synonym Sakhi obsession also is one see when I tell you paranoia I am explaining paranoia from the perspective of a layman language paranoia has a different definition altogether when you talk about psychology and I'll not get into that since I'm not an expert in that okay so उसमें बहुत सारे characteristics आते हैं जिनसे आपको assess किया जा सकता है if you are suffering from it or not so I'll not explain that डिवाइन से रिया फिर से समझाती हूँ। रिया, अगर एक यंगस्टर जाता है किसी स्कूल में गन लेके टू शूट अनदर चाइल्ड, क्या वो नॉर्मल एक्सपेक्टेशन जो सोसाइटी और लॉ उससे एक्सपेक्ट करता है, क्या उससे वो अलग डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है? श्री, this is for Ria. If a child takes a gun to the school to probably shoot somebody, is he deviating from what is expected out of him? This is an example of deviance. Okay? Yes, that's an example of deviance. Psychosis हो सकता है for paranoia related है. Yes. Okay. So that's slide number 1. Take a screenshot. Let's move to slide number 2. Okay. So slide number 2. Stigma. Social stigma, very commonly used. Stigma is any act that is associated with social disgrace. You receive social backlash for something. That's a social stigma. Okay. The stigma of having gone to prison will always be there with me. That is the social backlashing or disgrace that is associated with going to the prison is the stigma of going to the prison. Many things. A divorce can be associated to a stigma, or probably having a child before one is married can be a social stigma. There are many examples of or coming across as a bisexual can also be an example of a stigma. Got that, everyone? So taboo, yes, taboo is an example. Okay, shame, blame, all of these are synonyms, correct? Yes, Prachi, correct? Yes, Saki, sometimes. Disgrace, strain, stigma, chicken. Blot, taint, dishonor, shame, augury related हो गया. Okay? चलिए आगे चलते हैं. क्या हो गया श्रेया? No ma'am, what? For what? Okay, next word. Infiltrate. Okay, infiltration is secretively एक area enter करना so that you can gather secret information is infiltration. So the organization has been infiltrated by informers. They have secretly entered the organization and they want to gather information about what is hidden. Which one, Shreya? Which one? You'll have to write. You'll have to write which word, bache, because your chat reaches me a little late. Shreya, which word do I repeat? Stigma. Stigma फिर से repeat करती हूँ मैं. Stigma होता है एक ऐसी चीज जो सोसाइटी शॉक्ड हो जाती है या उसको अच्छे तरीके से नहीं देखती है, उन एक्ट्स को स्टिग्मा माना जाता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जब हम हिंदू कल्चर की स्पेशली बात करते हैं, a woman isn't allowed to enter a temple when she's into her menstrual cycle, right? So when a woman does that, उसको स्टिग्मा माना जाता है. ठीक है, वो एक डिसग्रेस की तरह आता है उसके ऊपर. ठीक है. यस प्रीति, टेल मी. I hope it's clear. If you wanted to ask, yes, stigma. Okay. Yes, Shreya, of course, we are going to move on to the passage if this is what you're referring to, if I got you correctly. All right, let's move on to the next word. Okay. Next word is ostracization. Ostracization is when you are excluded from a group or a society. Basically, you were thrown out because you did something wrong is ostracization. Neglecting, outcasting is ostracization. She was declared a witch and ostracized by the villagers. ये इंडिया की ही story है, I'm sure. Okay. Deplore is a related word to stigma. Okay. Preeti, what's your question, bache? Please post it again. I can't scroll up. Preeti, what's your question? Please post it again. Okay. Eradicate, bereft, isolate, banish. Yes, we did this word. Expel, exile. All are examples of ostracization. Yes, Violet. Yes. Okay. The last word, tactically, means very carefully, strategically, in a very planned manner is tactically. Tactically speaking, it was a bad move. If I speak very carefully in a planned way, thinking about my words, that is tactically. Okay? Slide number 2 and the last slide, quickly take a screenshot and ask me doubts that you have. Oust, expel for ostracization. Yes. Yes, please do, Preeti, please do. Please do. Which one, Shahi? Tactically, बहुत तरीके से सोच समझ के कोई काम करना is tactful. Ostracization, देश निकाला, सोसाइटी निकाला, ग्रुप निकाला. बेसिकली आपको एक ग्रुप या सोसाइटी से बाहर हटा देते, तुम बाहर रहो, तुम विच हो. ये ऐसा एग्जाम्पल दिया हुआ है. That's ostracization. Gimmick is a related word, not an exact synonym. ठीक है? Vopsy, you can connect with us in our Telegram group. Our Telegram group's link is in the description under my video. You can tag any one of us and speak to us. Preeti, okay, that will take up a long time. I don't think this is the right place. Long time for discussion. Okay, let's move on to the article. Yes, Jaiprakash, it can be used as one. It certainly can be. Okay, now let's move to the article, everyone. I hope everything's clear to you. Let's move on. But before this, if you're targeting CLAT 22, batch 3 for the crash course has been launched. CLAT delay or nahi hua hai. No April Fool, everybody. Stick to the date that has been provided by the consortium. Jaldi se enroll kar lo. Late mat karo. Deviance amplification. Now guys, no random questions beyond what is given in the passage. If you don't understand anything, please ask me then and there. But no questions beyond this. Article lengthy hai, tricky hai. I want all your attention pertaining to this article to be here only. Okay. So the example हम लेते हैं. Vopsy, you can speak to our counselors. Okay, the counselor's number is also given in the description box. Alivia, yes. Okay. Jaiprakash, I just answered your question. It can be used as a tone. Okay. अब करें article समझे? Getting back to the example, if a child takes a gun to a school, he does an illegal act, of course. Is it an example of deviancy? That is. What are the chances of deviancy increasing in the society? Or what reasons are responsible for the increment of deviancy in the society? What could be the reason of person deviating from a normal expectation in the society? This passage focuses on that. Okay, so deviancy amplification suggests that deviance is in a society is the unintended consequence of police control. So the author in the first line says, why would people deviate in the society? The reason is excessive police control, overreaction and labeling by the mass media. तुम anti-national हो. Labeling. Can deviancy be a result out of it? Could be. Overreaction. Oh my God, ये क्या बोल दिया तुमने? तुमको इंडिया में डर लगता है, तुम बाहर जाओ इंडिया से. Overreaction. Can that be a reason for deviancy? Could be. excessive police control, हमने जो देखा JNU वाले केस में, can that be a reason for deviancy? Yes, it could be. So according to the passage, these could be reasons for deviancy. And this article is not only about youth getting into drugs. That's only and only one example of deviancy. Deviancy could be entering any terrorist organization by a youth. Deviancy could be getting into any illegal activity, that could be drugs or arms and ammunition or terrorism. It could be anything. Okay. So according to the author, these are the reasons for deviancy in the society. This concept has been useful in the studies of police reaction to drug abuse. If the police catches somebody indulging into drug abuse, and how does the police react to it? बहुत सारा उस पे डिपेंड करता है कि आगे वो पर्सन फिर से ड्रग अब्यूज में जाएगा कि नहीं जाएगा. Similarly, sexual offenses, group-based violence, and political protests. We have seen this so much in our society, in our country. And then after this, we have also seen examples. I will not take any names because बहुत human कराया हो जाएगा. But this, as a result of pressure, political pressure, and police pressure on this, was visible in the history of our country. Made popular by sociologist Howard Becker, labeling theory. अब देखो, जैसे ही हमने बोला ये reasons हो सकते हैं deviancy के. Let's understand labeling होता क्या है. What is the labeling theory? So according to Howard Becker, labeling theory states that people come to identify and behave in ways that reflect how others label them. That is, Prachi, I'll reserve my thoughts on that. Because anything that I say in the class today can go against me. तो ना मैं UAPA के बारे में बोलूंगी और ना मैं AFSPA के बारे में बोलूंगी. But I'll say a lot of things indirectly. वो आपको खुद को समझना होगा. I hope you understand my plight here. Because I am speaking on a public platform, I can't take these names. Okay? Yes, Khushi. Doctor's suicide in Rajasthan. Labeling the doctor as a murderer. Was that an example of how a person sees themselves? You kept blaming the doctor as a murderer, and thus the doctor was under so much trauma that she committed suicide, because possibly that's how she identified herself, as a murderer. Right? That could be an example of labeling as well. So this sociologist says that you see yourself according to the label you're given. You're lazy. You start feeling lazy. Constantly people keep telling you, you're lazy, right? That's a tiny example of how labeling works. The theory suggests that when a person is labeled as a criminal due to the group she identifies with. Okay. In your school, I'm sure you must have come across a lot of people who are criticized for the kind of group they belong to, clique they belong to. If you constantly keep telling them that the group is bad, the clique is bad, can they identify themselves as a part of the group and very belongingness to the group? Yes, very likely. And in turn, the result can be deviancy. So that's one reason. Labeling. How labeling can create deviancy in the society. Yes, Vopsy. Sadly, yes. So, what happens next? What happens next is some critics argue that there is no direct proof to show that labeling increases deviancy. These are critics. Critics का काम है criticize करना होता है. So they say no, there's no direct relationship between labeling that will increase deviancy. So you are a thief. Constantly telling somebody this, you are labeled as a thief because you probably know somebody who has been a thief in the past, or you have been in a prison. You are labeled as an ex-prisoner. Can that make the chances of that person doing the theft again? These critics say no, they have no relationship. In trying to correlate labeling and deviance, factors such as differences in socialization, attitudes, and opportunities that lead to deviance is ignored. So, the author says that when we try to link labeling and deviance, how a person is labeled As a result, he would be deviating from what is expected out of him. There are many more things that are related here. It is how frequently do you socialize in the society, how the society accepts you, how your attitude is, and if you were given equal opportunities as others or not. Okay, so if for example we talk about an Afro-American, if he was not given equal opportunities, could he deviate? According to the author, he could. But the reason behind deviation was not his own attitude. The reason was lack of opportunities. Could be true according to the author. Deviance amplification is the theory. Now comes what increases deviance in the society. Okay? Any questions, anyone? Labeling without proof is not right. बच्चे डिवाइंसी 3 बार समझाया क्लास में मैंने डिवाइंसी क्या होता है. Labeling without proof is not right, but with proof, I don't think it's a crime. Labeling in itself is a crime, even if you have proof. Because, bache, your entire law depends on the ideology that a person can be reformed. Don't forget this, my children. Our entire law's fundamental is that a person can be reformed. If a person has a chance to be reformed and you label the person, what do? You take away the chances of reformation from that person. Do you get my point, Shriya, Saki and everyone else? Yes? Agreed to me? So labeling any type of it is absolutely wrong. Yes, Karthik, you're right. Okay, great. Let's move on. So, what increases deviance in the society? This theory that many things are responsible for deviance amplification. The theory states that deviance in the society is the unintended consequences of political control. Too much political control, I might speak against the government. Overreaction, oh my god, तुमको इंडिया में डर लगता है तुम बाहर जाओ. Overreaction, labeling by the mass media and popular reaction to divine stereotype. Stereotype क्या होता है? ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए. ऐसा कर दोगे तो आपको stereotype कर दिया जाएगा. And that's when expectation is set against you from the society. That's when divines can happen. Exactly, Shafi. That's what labeling does. That's what labeling does. So, the term was originally coined by Tesley Wilkins, who used the expression divine amplification in his book. The theory is an important element within the sociological critique for conventional criminology, which was reluctant in understanding the context behind the concept of divines and understanding crime as a social construct. So basically, this entire divine amplification tries to link two things: divines and society. Can a society force a person to be a deviant? Yes. Can social factors make somebody follow the path of divines? Yes, that's what the entire passage focuses on. Let's move on. Now let's understand what is divine amplification. The act of going against the norms and laws inscribed by society is termed as deviance. Repeated many times. Violence among, now 2 examples used. ध्यान से पढ़ना दोनों example that will give this article a lot of clarity. अरे गुलशन मत डराओ मुझे, तुमको पता मैं वैसे ही बहुत डरी होती हूँ इस चीज से. Okay. So, पहला example. Violence among African American is one of the examples where divine amplification is witnessed. कैसे? While we look at illegal acts done by African Americans, we can clearly see deviancy and its amplification related to social cause here. How? For instance, when there are instances of robbery or gun violence in African American neighborhood, the media tends to exaggerate the incident as a representation of the community. कि ये जो instances of robbery or violence, it's linked to the community. Media is responsible for exaggerating it. The media tends to exaggerate the incident as a representation of the community instead of displaying it as an individual case of deviance. एक person ने gun fight करी, gun violence किया, it can be an individual case. It is not seen as an individual case, it's seen as a social issue. Whereas if the same case is witnessed with somebody who is white and lives in a white neighborhood, this incident is downplayed and represented as an individual incident. ऐसा क्यों? African American है, तो social issue हो गया है. And if it's a white person in a white neighborhood, it's an individual incident, thus preventing any form of misinformation about the community from spreading through the media into the minds of people consuming it. Can we see the difference between these two as a social factor, political factor, factor of how people react to it, and factor of how the police reacts to it, the media reacts to it? As examples of deviance, very clearly visible here. Other examples of this include deviant behavior among, ये भी बहुत अच्छा example है, adolescents में कोई भी deviance देखते हैं, हम उसको exaggerated कर देते हैं. देखो कितना छोटा बच्चा, देखो क्या कर रहा है. I saw him smoking that day because he is only 12. Adolescent में we see these things very frequently. But if it is exaggerated and made a hue and cry, the chances of he deviating is higher. Cases of drug use among a few adolescents, for instance, tend to be represented as an issue affecting adolescents across societies. So once you label, and I will not use the words जो हम अपनी सोसाइटी में बहुत सुनते हैं, जो youngsters के लिए यूज किया जाता है, because they were probably caught doing something they were not expected to do, and thus deviance starts from there according to the author. Agreed, everyone? Yes, Samarth, correct. Ankita, amplification word is joined with deviance to show what are the factors that can highlight over the fact that deviance happens and that can increase the deviance in the society. We are looking at these factors. That's why these two words are associated together. Got this, everybody? Can I move on to the next page? Okay. I hope the questions were answered. Okay, here we go. So this leads to paranoia amongst parents. Of course, parents will be scared if they catch their child doing something they did not expect the child to do. They are going to go paranoid, and then what will follow? More restrictions. Don't go there, don't do this, give me your phone. This then spirals down to provoking more children to use drugs either due to the curiosity, ये नहीं करना है, क्यों नहीं करना है, मैं करके देखूंगा, या फिर आपने मुझे रोका, अब मैं जरूर करूंगा. So paranoia in parents can result to curiosity in children or counter reaction in children, leading to more dependency on these. But sadly, what does a parent do? If they don't get paranoid, what do? Allow their child to do it? I as a parent can feel all other parents here. What do? We can't allow our child to do it. We can't stop our child from doing it. What do we do as parents? The concept does suggest that distorted information and ignorance about minorities in mass society produce inappropriate responses. Minorities could be adolescents, minorities could be Afro-Americans, minorities could be Kashmiris, minority could be anybody. और जब वहां लेबलिंग आती है, जब वहां पुलिस कंट्रोल आता है more than necessary, there's a reason why I took Kashmir's name here. जब वहां आता है social media tagging, exaggeration of what you've done towards minorities, that could be women too, we see the society producing inappropriate responses to perceived deviance. What can be the solution? It's a deeply entrenched idea. I'll discuss about that in the end. Small initial deviances from it, for instance, through overreaction, especially by media coverage. छोटा सा गलती कर दिया, overreaction by media coverage. आपकी caste, आपका religion, जब मीडिया कोट करता है, उस पे फोकस करता है, वो छोटा डेविएंस बड़ा डेविएंस बन सकता है. It leads to unnecessary attention given to the divine behavior, giving the impression that the initial exaggeration was true and representation of the deviancy. So this unnecessary attention given by the media can lead to much more deviance in the society. This distorting of knowledge results in further amplification of deviance. और deviancy होगी इस unnecessary distorting of information से, knowledge से. The concept of deviancy amplification has been useful in the studies of police reaction to drug abuse. The same line repeated again. Let's go to the next page. I would do the same, Wapsi. I belong to the same category. Theory of labeling. Let's talk about labeling according to the author. I have taken such a risky article. I'm so scared actually explaining it today. The labeling theory states that people come to identify and behave. I take back my Kashmir statement. I'm already in so much stress. I'll have to get this part edited. The labeling theory states that people come to identify and behave in ways that reflect how others label them. So if you label somebody, he's very likely to behave in that manner forever because a label has been attached to him or her. Made popular in American sociology by sociologist Becker, the theory takes an interesting approach to understanding deviant and criminal behavior. So they try to link deviancy and criminal behavior to the labels given to people. Were these criminal behavior associated to the labels? Let's see. It explains that no act is intrinsically criminal. Very important line. And explains how crime is a social construct. The theory says, what is crime? The society has made a thing crime and something is not a crime. सोसाइटी ने ही तो लीगल और इलीगल बनाया है ना. आप और हम मिलके ही तो बनाते हैं क्या चीजें लीगल है क्या इलीगल है. वी एज ह्यूमंस. दैट मीन्स कोई भी चीज कंप्लीटली लीगल या कंप्लीटली इलीगल नहीं है. इट्स द सोशल कंस्ट्रक्ट और सोसाइटी ने जो डेफिनेशन दी है लीगैलिटी और इलीगैलिटी की और जो फॉर्मूलाज बनाए हैं, इंटरप्रिटेशंस करे हैं, और जैसा पुलिस देखती है, कोर्ट देखती है, गवर्नमेंट देखती है, जो पावर में लोग हैं वो देखते हैं, उनके अकॉर्डिंग हम किसी चीज को क्रिमिनल या नॉन क्रिमिनल बोलते हैं. नेचुरली कोई भी चीज क्रिमिनल या नॉन क्रिमिनल नहीं होती है. अग्रीड? Okay? So, what is criminal is what we have decided it as. The people in power have decided it as. Ultimately, what is criminal and non-criminal is the society's decision. When public stigma and discrimination infiltrate the implementation of the law, unfair labeling takes place. Unfair labeling कब होता है? Unfair labeling happens when public stigma. You are supposed to do this. You are not supposed to do this. Discriminating. Beautiful example here. Children play in the lane. They sometimes break windows, glasses. They sometimes break flower pots. What if they live around you, have the equal social stature as you? You would not blame them. But if the same thing has been done by a child who belongs to a poorer community, you would label them as troublemakers. What happened here? It's the public stigma and discrimination that this unfair labeling happened with. Can this unfair labeling force these communities to actually become deviant from the society? Very likely. Agreed? So everybody has agreed to it. But if you talk from the sociological perspective, right? If you start with the sociological perspective, nothing is legal or illegal. It's the society that decides what is legal or illegal. So, this theory can also make criminals more divine by making them thinking that they are not one at fault but the society. That's true. That can happen too. So, there's always a flip side of the coin. Okay, let's see ahead. The theory suggests that when a person is labeled as a criminal due to the group he/she identifies with, it can cause society to treat the person poorly, which in turn results in the individual becoming deviant. So, labeling results to deviance. Thus, stereotyping and labeling due to poor understanding of individuals and groups by those who have access to. My sister is a psychologist. I'll give you a good example here of how labeling can go against. My sister is a psychologist who gives psychological counseling to people, and she also has her own NGO and does a lot of social work. Okay, so since she's into this field, she has a lot of people who she works with who are transgenders. Once a family member, a senior family member in our family came and told her that if you keep meeting trans people, you're going to be one of them. Perfect example of what labeling could be. Can that possibly make my sister more angry and give her reaction towards how she was labeled? Imagine the kind of labeling and the kind of mental trauma she would have gone through because she was doing a social cause and she was labeled as one of them while she wasn't. So this is a perfect example of how labeling can cause deviance. Okay, so some critics argue that in trying to correlate labeling and deviance, factors such as differences in socialization, attitudes, and opportunities that lead to deviance is ignored. Now, what are the factors that will lead to deviance? They argue that there is no direct proof to show that labeling increases deviance. That's what the critics would say, that the deviance and labeling, they are not related. For instance, though the possibility of ex-con man going back to doing criminal activities after coming out of prison are high due to the ostracization he faces from the society, it could also be a result of the networks he had created. देखो, एक पर्सन जेल से निकल के आया, वापस क्रिमिनल एक्ट में चला गया. दो रीजन हो सकते हैं इसके. जो डिवाइस एम्प्लीफिकेशन को फेवर करेगा, वो बोलेगा रीजन था उसको सोसाइटी ने फिर भी एक क्रिमिनल की तरह देखा, इसलिए वो फिर क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटी में चला गया. लेकिन डिवाइस एम्प्लीफिकेशन के क्रिटिक्स क्या बोलेंगे? ये डिवाइस का रीजन नहीं है, ये जो वापस गया है क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटी में, वो डिवाइस की वजह से नहीं है, वो सोसाइटी की वजह से नहीं है, वो लेवलिंग की वजह से नहीं है, वो है इस वजह से क्योंकि जब वो जेल में था तो उसने कॉन्टैक्ट बना लिया, वो और क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटी कर रहा है. तो दो साइड्स है कॉइन के, दोनों ही अप्रोप्रिएट है यहां. अग्रीड एवरीवन? Violet, that's exactly what labeling is. Okay, done Gulshan. Monday questions के साथ, my promise. ठीक है? That's incorrect, Mopsy. The theory has also been criticized by one more person. He points out that half-heartedness of labeling theory, which attempts to extend Wilkins' model to the point. Again, पूरा criticism है यहाँ तक, इसको हम skip कर सकते हैं. ठीक है? आगे देखते हैं. The concept of deviance amplification, despite critiques, is relevant in understanding that the media's coverage of incidents affects society's reaction towards targeted groups negatively. So when the media reacts negatively, according to the author, deviance will happen. The blowing up of issues by the media can create panic among the masses, leading to the ostracization of an entire community. और कम्युनिटी की ऑस्ट्रासाइजेशन हमारे कंट्री से ज्यादा अच्छा कौन जानता है? एक पूरी कम्युनिटी की ऑस्ट्रासाइजेशन कर दो, कल्प्रिट कौन है? मीडिया, पॉलिटिकल पावर, पुलिस, all of that. When used tactically by the ones in power, this can be used as a method to distract public from far more important issues in the society. I will not explain this line. Uh, Tell me the tone of the author. What's the tone of the author? What's the tone? This article is from the Hindu. Shahi? Tone. Contemplative, analytical, okay. It's expository. Samarth, Anushka, Vandana, Ashmita, Mahita, it's expository. Yes, Arshia, all of you correct. It's expository. It's not analytical. He has done his analysis. He's only explaining. It's expository. Shahi, did you join the class from the beginning? It's expository. No, not lambasted. I'll try to, Preeti. I'll try to. Okay? It's expository. Okay? Got that, Ragini Muskan? Lesser of analytical, more of expository. Okay, now sharing today's Hindu and Indian Express in the background. But before I do that, if you're targeting CLAT 2022, All India Open Mock Test starts from April 3rd to April 5th. किसी भी एक दिन एक slot में जरूर देना paper so that you know your All India rank amongst thousands and thousands of people. Also, if you're targeting CLAT 2023, batch 2 for the comprehensive prep course has been launched. English पढ़ाऊंगी इसमें, आ जाना time पे batch में. Tone of the author is done. Let me share today's Hindu and Indian Express in the background. If you want to learn idioms in a quicker way, let me give you an offer that you can't refuse. See me today at 12:30 on the BBA YouTube channel. I'll be coming live today, then Monday again, consecutively for 5 days. I'll make sure you memorize more than hundreds of idioms with me. Don't miss out on that session. Where? 12:30 BBA YouTube channel. Let me share the Hindu and Indian Express in the background. Here you go. Okay, here you go. So, what happens in today's paper? Oh, I love this. Read this. Next article, an opportunity to repolish India Nepal ties. छोड़ देना इसको, ठीक है? I don't think that's necessary. Let's have a look at the next one. Only skim. Only skim. Only skim. Yeah, read this. This is a good one. Please read this. Let's look at the text and context. Yeah, please understand this. Nothing is more important here. Let's come to the Indian Express. Shrestha, I have planned one. Ma'am, in the Indian Express opinion page, there is a news that the day's liberalism is over. Let me see. It's clear now. This is good. Yes, Ragini, you're right. Please read this. How to survive and grow in warming world. Read this. BJP chhod do. Tragedy of Dr. Archana Sharma's failure of, yeah, yes. With yet another PM's exit, no. Another accident at a sewer line in Delhi. Leave. Nitish Kumar. That's all. That's all. That's all. Okay. So I shall see you at 12:30 everyone then. Have a very good day. God bless you.